The cry for help Commander Zara Vel-Kep pressed her feathered hands against the cool metal console as another explosion rocked the trading station. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the orange flames consuming the outer docks, where her people's merchant vessels had been docked just hours ago. The Nexer swarm had arrived without warning, their black insectoid ships descending upon the Kepler home system like a plague of metal locusts. The Kepler were traders, not warriors. Their elegant, bird-like features and hollow bones made them excellent navigators and negotiators, but terrible soldiers. For 3 centuries, they had built their civilization on commerce and diplomacy, believing that mutual prosperity could prevent conflicts. They had been wrong. "Commander, we have lost contact with the mining station on Kepler 7, reported her communications officer, his voice barely steady. Lieutenant Kick-Tip was young, barely out of the academy, and his bright golden feathers had lost their shine in the past 3 days of constant attack. Zara closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of her entire species on her shoulders. The Nexer had already destroyed 2 of their 7 colonies. The insectoid invaders moved like a natural disaster, consuming everything in their path and leaving nothing but empty space behind. They took resources, enslaved populations, and showed no interest in negotiations. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked, though she already knew the answer would break her heart. 17 cargo vessels, 5 diplomatic ships, and 3 survey craft, Kick-Tip replied. The civilian transports are overloaded with refugees from the outer colonies. 25 ships against a Nexer fleet of over 150 vessels. It was not a battle. It was an extinction event waiting to happen. Zara had seen the tactical reports. The Nexer ships were built for war, with armor plating that could deflect most energy weapons and swarm tactics that overwhelmed any defense. The Kepler had nothing that could stop them. "Send another distress signal," Zara ordered. "Broadcast on all frequencies, all languages. Someone out there must be willing to help." She had been sending the same message for 2 days now, reaching out to every species in the known galaxy. The responses had been predictable. The Altarian Council expressed their sympathy, but cited neutrality policies. The Zentari Federation offered to accept Kepler refugees after the war was over. The Corvan Empire simply ignored the messages entirely. Nobody wanted to fight the Nexer swarm. Nobody wanted to risk their own fleets for a species of peaceful traders who had never built a single S. Warship. The communications array crackled to life as Kick-Tip sent out another plea for help. His voice carried across the void of space, translated into dozens of languages by the ship's computer. "This is the Kepler Defense Command. We are under attack by the Nexer swarm. Our colonies are being destroyed. We need immediate military assistance. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we need help." Zara listened to the desperate words and felt something cold settle in her chest. They were going to die. Her people, her culture, everything they had built over centuries was going to disappear into the hungry maw of the Nexer swarm. 15 light-years away, Captain Marcus Steele sat in the command center of Earth's deep space communication hub, his coffee growing cold as he listened to the alien distress call. The night shift was usually quiet, filled with routine communications and automated status reports. But this message was different. The translation software worked overtime to convert the alien words into English, but the emotion behind them needed no translation. Marcus had been monitoring deep space communications for 8 years, and he had never heard anything like this. The fear in the alien commander's voice was real, raw, and desperate. These were people facing extinction, and they were calling out to anyone who would listen. "Computer, cross-reference the Kepler species in our diplomatic database," Marcus ordered. The response came immediately. "The Kepler are a peaceful trading species first contacted by Earth 15 years ago. During the Great Famine Crisis, They provided critical food supplies to the outer colonies, saving approximately 40,000 human lives. They refused all payment and stated that helping others was simply the right thing to do. Marcus sat up straighter. He remembered the Great Famine Crisis. The food production systems on 3 colony worlds had failed simultaneously due to a solar flare, and Earth's supply ships couldn't reach them in time. Thousands of people had been dying of starvation when the Kepler trading vessels had appeared, loaded with nutritious food and medical supplies. They had saved human lives and asked for nothing in return. "Get me a direct line to Fleet Command," Marcus said, his voice sharp with urgency. "Priority Alpha." The call went through to Admiral Rebecca Harrison, who had been reviewing personnel files in her office when the emergency communication came in. Rebecca was known throughout the fleet as Iron Wolf for her unwavering determination and strategic brilliance. She had gray hair and steel-gray eyes that could cut through the toughest armor. "Admiral, we have a situation," Marcus said as her image appeared on the screen. "The Kepler are under attack. They're calling for help." Rebecca's expression hardened as she listened to the distress signal. She remembered the Kepler well. When the outer colonies had been starving, these bird-like aliens had appeared like guardian angels, bringing food and hope to people who had given up. They had saved her nephew's family on Proxima 4. "What's the threat assessment?" she asked. "The Nexer swarm, Admiral. Over 150 ships. The Kepler have maybe 25 civilian vessels left." Rebecca was quiet for a long moment, her fingers drumming against her desk. The Nexer swarm was notorious throughout the galaxy. They were a species of insectoid conquerors who consumed entire star systems and left nothing behind. No one had ever successfully fought them off. Most species simply fled when the Nexer appeared, but the Kepler had helped humanity when people were dying. They had shown kindness to strangers and asked for nothing in return. Now they were the ones who needed help. "Issue Fleet Order Alpha 7, Rebecca said. "All available ships are to report for immediate deployment. This is Operation Payback." "Admiral, with respect, the Nexer have never been defeated in battle. We could lose everything." "Then we better not lose," Rebecca replied. "The Kepler saved 40,000 human lives. Now it's our turn to save them." Within 6 hours, the mobilization order had reached every human military installation in the galaxy. Captain Elena Vasquez was leading a patrol mission near the Centauri border when her ship's communications array lit up with incoming orders. She was a veteran of the Corvan border wars, with short black hair and scars on her hands from hand-to-hand combat training. "All ships return to base immediately," came the voice from Fleet Command. "Priority Alpha deployment." "This is not a fin drill." Elena's second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Shun, looked confused. "Captain, we're not scheduled for major operations for another 6 months." "Sometimes the galaxy doesn't check our schedule," Elena replied, already plotting a course back to the main fleet base. "Set course for home, maximum burn." As they traveled through hyperspace, Elena read the mission briefings. The Kepler were under attack, and humanity was going to help them. She remembered stories from the Great Famine Crisis, how alien traders had saved human lives without asking for anything in return. It was exactly the kind of mission that made her proud to wear. The uniformed Commander Jake Morrison was in the middle of a training exercise when the orders came through. Known throughout the fleet as Bulldog for his tenacious fighting style, Jake commanded a squadron of heavy cruisers designed for frontline combat. His ships were built for war, with reinforced armor and enough firepower to level a small moon. "Sir, we're receiving priority deployment orders." His communications officer reported. Jake read the orders twice, then smiled grimly. The Nexer swarm had picked the wrong species to threaten. They had attacked people who had helped humanity And now they were going to learn what happened when you hurt Earth's friends. All ships prepare for combat deployment, Jake announced to his squadron. We're going to war. But it wasn't just the military that responded to the call. Word spread through human space faster than official channels could carry it. Merchant captains, mercenaries, and even pirates began converging on the rally point. They had all heard stories about the Kepler, about the aliens who had helped humans and asked for nothing in return. Captain Maria Santos had been running cargo between the outer colonies when she heard about the deployment. Her ship, the Stellar Wanderer, was a converted freighter with basic defensive weapons. She wasn't military, but she couldn't ignore the call for help. Maria, we're not soldiers, her first mate protested. We carry cargo, not weapons. The Kepler didn't ask if we were soldiers when they brought food to the dying colonies, Maria replied. They just helped. Now it's our turn. Even the pirates responded. Captain Rex Iron Fist Kowalski had spent years raiding corporate shipping lanes, but he had never forgotten the stories his grandfather told about the Great Famine Crisis. The old man had been a colonist on Proxima 4, and he had lived because the Kepler had brought food when Earth couldn't. Asterisk. Boys, we're taking a break from our regular business, Rex announced to his crew. We're going to help some friends. Admiral Rebecca Harrison stood on the bridge of her flagship, the U.S. Vengeance, and watched as more ships continued to arrive. At the rally point, what had started as a military deployment had become something unprecedented in human history. 300 ships floated in formation, their running lights creating a constellation against the darkness of space. There were military vessels of every class, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and battleships. But there were also civilian ships that had been hastily armed with whatever weapons their crews could find. Merchant vessels, cargo haulers, and even luxury yachts had joined the fleet. Pirates flew alongside Navy officers, and corporate executives worked with mercenaries. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Kepler, her communications officer reported. The image that appeared on the main screen showed a bird-like alien with elegant features and golden feathers. Commander Zara Velkep looked exhausted and frightened, but her eyes widened when she saw the massive human fleet behind Admiral Harrison. Admiral Harrison, I am Commander Zara Velkep of the Kepler Defense Command. We sent a distress call requesting evacuation assistance. We did not expect ... this. Rebecca smiled, and for a moment her expression softened. Commander, 15 years ago, your people saved 40,000 human lives. You brought food to our colonies when our people were dying, and you asked for nothing in return. We don't forget our debts. But Admiral, this looks like an invasion fleet, not a rescue mission. The Nexus swarm has over 150 ships. You could lose everything. Commander, when humans make a promise, we keep it, Rebecca replied. You called for backup. We brought everything we have. Zara was quiet for a moment, staring at the massive human fleet. The 300 ships represented more firepower than the Kepler had ever seen in one place. It was an overwhelming response to a simple distress call. I do not understand, Zara said. Why would you risk so much for us? Because that's what friends do, Rebecca answered. How long until the Nexer reach your homeworld? 6 hours, maybe less. And we leave in 4 hours. That will give us time to reach your system and prepare our battle formations. After the communication ended, Rebecca turned to address her fleet. Every ship captain was listening, waiting for orders. People of Earth, she began, her voice carrying across 300 ships. Today, we go to war. Not for territory or resources, but for something more important. We go to war for friendship. We go to war for honor. We go to war because it's the right thing to do. The response came from 300 ships at once. Aye, Admiral. The Nexer think they can destroy anyone who gets in their way, Rebecca continued. They think they're unstoppable because they've never lost a battle. They're wrong. They've never fought humans before. They've never seen what we do when someone threatens our friends. She paused, looking out at the assembled fleet. One more time. In 4 hours, we jump to hyperspace. When we arrive, we show the galaxy what happens when you attack people under human protection. We show them what backup really means. Asterisk, when humans go to war, the Nexer swarm detected the approaching human fleet 2 hours before they arrived in Kepler space. The hive mind that controlled the Nexer collective had never encountered anything like it. 300 ships moving in perfect coordination, approaching at maximum speed with weapons powered and shields raised. It was the largest single fleet the Nexer had ever faced. The hive mind calculated the threat level and felt something it had never experienced before: uncertainty. The Nexer had conquered 17 different species over the past century, and they had never encountered serious resistance. Most civilizations fled when the swarm appeared, or fell quickly to their overwhelming numbers and superior technology. This was different. The humans were not fleeing. They were charging directly into battle against a force that had never been defeated. The hive mind redirected its entire fleet to intercept the human ships before they could reach the remaining Kepler colonies. 150 Nexer vessels moved to form a battle line. Each ship was a masterpiece of biological engineering, grown rather than built, with chitinous armor that could adapt to enemy weapons and living computers that could process information faster than any mechanical system. The Nexer had evolved for war, and their technology reflected that evolution. Admiral Rebecca Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance and watched the enemy fleet take position. The Nexer ships looked like massive insects, all curves, and organic shapes that seemed to writhe and shift in the darkness of space. Their hulls were dark green and black, with glowing orange spots that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Admiral, enemy fleet is in position," reported her tactical officer. 150 ships, all capital class. They're forming a standard battle line. Rebecca nodded. Captain Vasquez report. Elena Vasquez commanded the left wing of the human fleet. 30 ships, including her own heavy cruiser. Left wing ready, Admiral. We're locked and loaded. Commander. Morrison, status? Jake Morrison commanded the right wing. Another 30 ships of mixed classes. Right wing ready, Admiral. The Bulldog is hungry for a fight. Rebecca smiled grimly. The plan was simple, maybe too simple. The humans would charge straight at the enemy in 3 waves, using their superior numbers to overwhelm the Nexer defensive positions. It was not elegant or sophisticated, but it was human. When humans went to war, they fought with everything they had. All ships, prepare for battle, Rebecca announced. Remember, we're not here to conquer territory or capture resources. We're here to protect our friends. The Kepler are counting on us, and we will not let them down. The first wave launched immediately. 100 human ships broke formation and accelerated toward the Nexer battle line. The diversity of the fleet was immediately apparent. Military vessels flew alongside merchant ships. Pirates worked with corporate security, and civilian volunteers charged into battle next to seasoned veterans. Captain Maria Santos gripped the controls of the Stellar Wanderer as her converted freighter accelerated toward the enemy. She had never been in a space battle before, but she had retrofitted her ship with plasma cannons and reinforced the hull with whatever armor she could find. Her crew was scared but determined. "Maria, are you sure about this?" her first mate asked, his voice tight with anxiety. The Kepler didn't ask if they were sure when they brought food to the dying colonies, Maria replied. They just helped. Now it's our turn. The Nexer opened fire first. Streams of bioplasma erupted from there. living weapons, bright green energy that could burn through most known materials. The shots were perfectly aimed, calculated by the hive mind to achieve maximum damage with minimum energy expenditure. But the humans were already moving. The first wave scattered in all directions, breaking into smaller groups and approaching from multiple angles. The precise Nexer targeting systems suddenly found themselves tracking dozens of separate targets instead of a single formation. Captain Rex Kowalski brought his pirate ship, the Iron Fist, in from the flank. His vessel was covered with mismatched armor plating and carried weapons that had been stolen from a dozen different species. It was not pretty, but it was effective. "Boys, remember what we're fighting for," Rex announced to his crew. "These bird people helped humans when we needed it most. Now we return the favor." The Iron Fist opened fire with everything it had. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, and ion beams all fired simultaneously, creating a rainbow of destruction that slashed across the Nexer formation. The pirate ship's weapons were not standardized or coordinated, but they were unexpected. The Nexer had never seen such a chaotic approach to warfare. The hive mind tried to adapt to the human attack patterns, but there were no patterns to adapt to. Each human ship fought differently. The military vessels used coordinated tactics and disciplined formations. The merchant ships fought like cornered animals, using their superior maneuverability to avoid enemy fire. The pirates fought like pirates, using hit-and-run attacks and dirty tricks that no military academy had ever taught. Commander Jake Morrison led his heavy cruisers in a direct assault on the Nexer center. The ships under his command were built for this kind of fighting, with thick armor and massive guns designed to go toe-to-toe with enemy capital ships. "All ships concentrate fire on the lead Nexer vessel," Jake ordered. "Let's show them what human firepower looks like." 6 heavy cruisers opened fire simultaneously. The combined barrage was overwhelming. Hundreds of energy beams and projectiles striking the Nexer ship in the space of seconds. The organic armor tried to adapt, but it could not handle the sheer volume of incoming fire. The Nexer vessel's hull cracked, then shattered, venting atmosphere and biological fluids into space-out. It was the first Nexer ship to be destroyed in over 50 years, and the hive mind felt something like shock. The humans were not fighting like any species the Nexer had ever encountered. They were not trying to minimize losses or preserve their fleet. They were fighting with complete commitment, willing to sacrifice everything to achieve victory. Asterisk. The hive mind was beginning to understand something terrifying. The humans were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to send a message. Every ship in their fleet was committed to the battle, from the largest battleship to the smallest. Civilian transport. They were willing to lose everything to protect their allies. Commander Zara Vel Kep watched the battle from her command ship, her golden feathers trembling with amazement. She had never seen anything like it. The humans were fighting with a ferocity and determination that seemed to defy logic. They were outnumbered, but they fought as if victory was inevitable. "Commander, 3 more Nexer ships have been destroyed," reported her tactical officer. "The human fleet is advancing on all fronts." Zara could barely believe what she was seeing. The Nexer swarm had been unstoppable for decades, consuming entire star systems and enslaving countless species. But the humans were not just stopping them. They were driving them back. Admiral Rebecca Harrison coordinated the battle from her flagship, watching as her diverse fleet worked together like a single organism. Military discipline combined with civilian determination and pirate cunning to create something unprecedented in galactic warfare. "Admiral, the Nexer are beginning to retreat," her tactical officer reported. 12 of their ships have been destroyed, and the rest are falling back. Rebecca nodded grimly. "All ships pursue and engage. We don't let them escape to threaten other worlds." The third wave of human ships joined the battle as the Nexer tried to withdraw. But the humans had positioned their fastest vessels to cut off the retreat routes. The Nexer found themselves trapped between the main human fleet and the interceptor. Squadrons. The final phase of the battle was swift and decisive. The Nexer ships, cut off from retreat and facing overwhelming firepower, began to surrender. The hive mind, for the first time in its existence, sent a message of capitulation. Human fleet, this is the Nexer Collective. The transmission began. We surrender. We will withdraw from Kepler space and will not return. Rebecca Harrison looked at the message for a long moment, then smiled. Nexer Collective, this is Admiral Harrison of the human fleet. Your surrender is accepted. You will withdraw immediately and will not threaten the Kepler or any other peaceful species. If you do, we will find you. The remaining Nexer ships began to withdraw, their organic hulls damaged and their confidence shattered. The hive mind had learned something new about the galaxy. There were species that would fight to the death to protect their friends, and humans were the most dangerous of them all. As the Nexer fleet disappeared into hyperspace, the human ships began to regroup. They had lost 8 vessels in the battle, but they had achieved total victory against an enemy that had never been defeated. Commander Zara Vel Kep opened a communication channel to the human fleet. Admiral Harrison, we cannot thank you enough. You have saved our entire species. You saved 40,000 of our people 15 years ago, Rebecca replied. We don't forget our debts, and we don't abandon our friends. Asterisk, but you risked everything for us. 300 ships, thousands of lives. Why? Rebecca smiled, and her expression was warm despite the scars of battle. Because that's what humans do. When someone asks for backup, we don't send a few ships. We send everything we have. When someone threatens our friends, we don't negotiate. We fight, and when we fight, we win. The communication channel filled with voices as other human captains joined the conversation. Captain Elena Vasquez, Commander Jake Morrison, Captain Maria Santos, and dozens of others all spoke at once, offering friendship and support to them. Kepler survivors. This is the beginning of a new alliance, Rebecca announced. The Kepler and humanity, standing together against anyone who threatens peace in the galaxy. Zara felt tears in her eyes as she listened to the voices of her new allies. The humans had not just saved her people. They had shown the entire galaxy that some species would fight to the death to protect their friends. In the weeks that followed, the story of the Battle of Kepler spread throughout the galaxy. The Nexer swarm, invincible for decades, had been defeated by a human fleet fighting to protect their allies. Other species began to take notice. Humanity was not just another spacefaring civilization. They were something different, something dangerous to those who threatened the innocent. The Kepler-Human Alliance became the foundation for a new galactic order. Other peaceful species began to join, knowing that they would be protected by human strength and determination. The galaxy learned a simple lesson. When you helped humans, they remembered. And when you threatened human friends, they brought everything they had to the fight. Admiral Rebecca Harrison stood on the observation deck of her flagship, looking out at the stars. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. Admiral, her aide approached with a communication pad. We're receiving thank you messages from 17 different species. Word is spreading about what we did here. Asterisk Rebecca nodded. Good. Let them know that humanity stands ready to defend anyone who needs protection. We don't start fights, but we finish them. She looked back at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, other species were watching and learning. The Kepler had called for backup, and humans had answered with a war fleet. It was a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. When humans made friends, they kept them. When humans made promises, they kept them. And when humans went to war, they brought everything they had and fought until victory was assured. The galaxy had learned what it meant to have humanity as an ally. And those who might threaten the innocent had learned what it meant to have humanity as an enemy. Asterisk